everybody. Welcome back to Black Box Signal, a podcast on the internet about video games. It is Sunday, January 29th, 2023, and I am your host, Chase Johnson, and I am joined by my co-host, as always, the horror game guru, Brandon Gaston.
How's it going?
What's up?
Oh,
So, what's new with you this week? What outside of games have you gotten into? Little opening banter here.
So, for people that know and may not know, so I've gotten into D&D or Dungeons and Dragons recently within the last year. Not necessarily a video game, but lots of video games are based off of D&D principles and stuff. So we met last night and did that, so that was a lot of fun. And actually my Gloomhaven group is meeting tonight, which Gloomhaven is a lot like D&D. It's a tabletop game, but they now have a version of it on Steam. So we play digitally, so it's pretty cool if you're into tabletop games and stuff, but not necessarily have time to get together with a group of people. It's kind of a cool alternative. It still looks exactly like a game board and stuff, keep all the principles the same, but it's just a video game version of it. It's a lot of fun. Shout out to our Gloomhaven group, the Walls of Jericho. Love you guys.
Nice.
I knew you would get a kick out of that.
Well, it's so funny because, finish your story.
No, I knew you would get a laugh at that. That's why I didn't want to tell you what we had called ourselves, but yeah, it's fun. You know, you got different roles and stuff, and then as you progress, you can retire characters and get new characters to play. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
Nice. Yeah. Speaking of that, we've been chatting about it. Me and our friend John in the group chat been chatting about wrestling. So that's kind of what I've been paying attention to this weekend is wrestling Twitter because the Royal Rumble happened. And for those of you who don't know what the Royal Rumble is, it's like how the AFC and NFC have their championship. This would be like the wrestling equivalent. Whoever wins the Royal Rumble goes and gets a title shot at WrestleMania. And Cody Rhodes, the guy who started AEW with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks with his return to WWE, won the Royal Rumble. So we're going to get Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, if any of y'all care, which I think that's cool. I mean, if you like Dusty Rhodes was never able to capture the title, the WWF WWE title. So it would be cool to see his son finally do it. And Goldust never captured that either. So that would be cool to see. And if anybody's going to dethrone Roman, why not be somebody that he hasn't beat? Because Roman has been, champion for like 2+ years now. So and he's the first guy to be champion for that long in a while. Like the last champion I could think that was maybe that close was like the Hogan days, the Flair days, that they would hold the belts for a long time. CM Punk had like a little over a year run, but he's an asshole, so we won't go too much into that. But yeah, so that's cool. And then I think Rhea Ripley won the women's Royal Rumble because they do a women's Royal Rumble now too. So that's always cool. So she's getting a title shot. Yep. So she's getting a title shot at one of the belts, whether it's the SmackDown belt, the NXT belt, the Raw belt. WWE did this weird thing a while back to where they ran all the competition out of town and then they just started competing with themselves. So they have a Raw Women's Championship, a SmackDown Women's Championship, and then NXT is like their developmental brand. So there's like 3 quote unquote world titles. So that's,
of course,
I think that's that we should stop talking about wrestling. I mean, we will talk about it a little bit later because we have a story, but we should move on. But it's dumb. We'll just leave it at that. It's very dumb. But anyway,
well,
go ahead.
Speaking of horror stuff, obviously for people that follow stuff, Dead Space remake did drop on Friday. I don't have a whole lot to talk to you guys about this time around. Sorry, guys, I haven't picked it up yet. Most I know is that a lot of people have been gorging over it. You know, it's getting all 9s and 10s, so I'm pretty excited to pick that up and probably stream it and stuff and give you guys later down the road in a further episode my complete thoughts and reviews on it. Now, fun fact, I was doing some listening at work and this one stuck out to me. So they have announced and have a trailer out, you can look it up, for a Alone in the Dark remake. And for anybody that doesn't know, Alone in the Dark is literally the game that basically gave us the horror genre for video games. It's the predecessor. All this stuff in that game can be prevalently found in almost any horror game. Gathering items, using them to solve puzzles with things like that. The game itself, boy, does not hold up graphically wise or anything. I was watching a video and it's just, oh, it's pretty bad. You can tell. But the trailer itself though looks gorgeous, so I'm kind of stoked for that to see where that goes. So that'll be something I will definitely be trying to keep some tabs on, not only for myself but for you guys, because I just, what could be better than, we're gonna give a facelift to, the father of all horror games. I mean, I'm pumped for that.
Right.
So, and that's a franchise that's long since been like not typically not associated with good games.
Right. Didn't they
Um,
try doing like a remake of it like on like in the 360 era
yeah, I want to say it was
or
like 20,
like the
2013
PS3
or something
too?
like that. They did like a kind of like a remake thing, and it's actually rated probably one of the best ones out of them since the first one. So we'll
Nice.
see how about that. Um, and the other thing I wanted to bring up was, so I've been trying to put my ear to the ground for you guys on any inklings on the Silent Hill projects coming out. And I did come across a little thing. I don't have a reference for where it's from, other than I just saw like a thing on YouTube that showed like a very short video clip of one of their projects. It's called Silent Hill F, and it looks pretty cool. It's only like 30 seconds long, so not a lot to go off of, but it looked pretty cool. The thing I found interesting about it though was it's the first Silent Hill game that does not take place in Silent Hill at all. So it takes place in Japan, so that'll be kind of interesting to see where they're going to go with that, because in a general sense every game has taken place in Silent Hill,
Right.
or if you're outside of Silent Hill you are transported periodically into parts of Silent Hill, i.e. like I want to say the room. I don't think the actual apartment is in Silent Hill. I could be wrong though, but you do get transported like into Silent Hill, so kind of interesting. So definitely something that we'll keep our eyes and our ears open for sure.
For sure. Definitely. Yeah, that's pretty much all you have to talk about this week though, for the most part, right? Did you do
Yeah,
any did you do play any more Tactics Ogre or anything like that or
yeah, so I played a little bit more Tactics Ogre. I got down a little bit. I've been playing my like off stream uh, campaign. So for the other people out there, I talked about this probably, what was that, last episode. So in that game you get presented with choices throughout the game that can branch your path and kind of shape your story, which characters you run into, things like that. And so it kind of has like a lawful side and then like a unlawful side, or like a chaotic side storyline to it. So my off stream one is kind of more like what they would consider like the chaotic storyline. So it's been kind of interesting running into some characters and scenarios that I didn't run through in my other playthrough. So it's been pretty fun. And wouldn't you know it, pure streamer luck. Uh, Off stream, I'm getting all these like cool things, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course I want to get it on stream. That's
right.
classic streamer luck there. So yeah, it's been kind of cool. But on the flip side, I've gotten some things on stream that I haven't been able to get off stream too. So kind of goes hand in hand. Still excited to see the end of it. A lady I follow on Twitch, she's super cool, and she was streaming it the other day. And when I realized it was the last battle, I quickly like just put her on lurk and shrank it down, because I was like, "Look, I don't want to see this. I'm not spoiling this for myself."
Right. Right.
What about you? What have you been up to this week?
I didn't have as much time because I said last week that Dexter was a little sick and he was still kind of getting over it. The woes of parenting, switching formulas and stuff like that,
Mm,
kind of throws him off. But Violet finally started Pokemon Violet, so I actually haven't seen too much of that game because she's doing actually a pretty good job so far. I helped her create her character and then helped her pick her starter, and then she's just kind of been off to the races. I've been doing stuff. It's been nice that I can do stuff around the house while she I was just playing it. But a little disturbing thing that I found out in that game, I don't know if it's in the last Pokemon game, but that little, how, like that Pokedex that you get is like that smartphone Pokedex you get
Yeah, the
has the eyes.
Rotom phone.
Yeah. Did you catch the bit about how apparently there's like a Pokemon trapped inside that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the ghost Pokemon.
What the?
Hmm.
That's just what the
Yeah,
fuck? Like, that's a little,
yeah,
that's a little
yeah.
jacked up. It's like we trapped a ghost Pokemon inside of here and used it for research.
So the thing with that is, and I didn't know anything about it either until Eli was telling me about it, but yeah, it's called Rotom, and typically in most games that allow you to catch one, it has more than one form. So it's always going to have ghost typing, and then depending on what form it is its other typing, right? So ghost electric, ghost water, and so it's like Rotom washing machine, Rotom fan, something like it's weird, man. And yeah, it's yeah, it's interesting. Like we're just gonna trap this Pokemon spirit essentially in my washing machine and make it wash my clothes.
Yeah, I was just
Like
like, this
kind of
is
twisted.
this is a little fucked up. Like I did not know that. I did not know that going into that, and I was just like, did I hear that right? Um,
Oh
but
man.
I don't have much to report on it. I haven't played much of it yet, so I really can't say. I'll report
Well,
back on what Violet thinks when
what
she
we want to know, we as a general want to know is what starter did she go with? That's the question
she went
everybody
with
wants to know.
I'm terrible with the names, but she went with the grass cat.
Okay, the grass one. Yep.
This yep that was
That's what Eli picked too.
yep
Uh-huh.
yep she went with the grass cat. And then the other thing I will say is what I've noticed out of the corner is this game only looks all right. Like it didn't impress me as much as it impressed other people with like, oh, this game looks gorgeous when the frames are running. Even when the frames are running, I was like a little old looking, but I mean it's not terrible. But like I
I
looked at
mean, it's not bad, but I'm with you. I wouldn't say it's like,
I
marvelous,
mean
but
I saw her playing that game and loaded in the world for the first time and went, man, fuck. And then I like loaded the and then I loaded like watched her play more and watched the frame rate like drop and I was like, man, fuck. Like
and I
like
tried to
it's
tell you, man, like
bad.
it's noticeable.
Like oh, like that I was like, God, I might skip this one. I'm kind of glad that she's playing it and good for her. Like that means the next one that is gonna like impress the shit out of her. Because it's gonna, like I said, hopefully
Hopefully.
be yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed, hopefully. Um But I've been playing mostly this week. I've been playing a little bit of Fire Emblem, but mostly Crisis Core because I'm trying to finish that up, even though I'm still about
Mhm.
midway through. I just hit the point in the game where like the difficulty kind of ramps up, and kind of wasn't expecting it. So like I've been getting one shotted by a boss. So, so I've been playing that. The game's still pretty good. I will say that the battle animations and the different limit breaks that they've upscaled to 60 look really good. I know last week I was kind of dogging about some of the textures and some of the faces,
Sure.
but in certain parts of it, it looks really really good. The limit breaks and the different animations they have for like the summons, those look really killer. But yeah, I just got to the point to where like you fought Genesis for the first time and I'm fighting Angeal. Spoilers, you end up fighting Angeal. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. And then Fire Emblem, I just played one more chapter. I'm hoping to get more into that this week if I finish Final Fantasy, and I'm hoping to do a stream of that this week as well. Um, but not too much more to report. Still plays fucking killer. Anime cartoon story has gotten more over the top and ridiculous and made me roll my eyes real hard in my cubicle. Like real hard. But I mean, gameplay is still solid. So, I did that. And then I put this down on here because I'm going to be playing it this week. I'm going to preload it, which I forgot to pick up a GameStop card or PlayStation Plus card today. I was meant to go do that, but I'm gonna be getting Season: A Letter to the Future, which is an indie game that I've been had my eye on for a little while. Since it was announced like
Gu-
2 years ago.
Ion, you've been like gushing over it, sending me
Yeah,
videos and
it's
stuff.
gorgeous. Like it looks so good. And that I will be streaming this week as well. But I don't have too much to report on that yet. Except the plot is you're basically a girl recording the last last bit of like humanity and life before the season ends, and it's supposed to be the last season. Whatever that means. But I look forward to it. That's the type of game that's like right up my alley. Existential dread and whatnot. But
Yeah. It,
pretty
loo-
art.
I mean, yeah, it looked pretty cool. I watched all the videos you sent me, and I thought, like, graphically wise and stuff, I think it's good. It's got a cool art style. I like that. Me personally, game wise, doesn't really seem like it's much my alley.
Hmm.
I wouldn't dog on it and say it looks bad though. It's just definitely doesn't look like it's something I'd be interested in. But what did I tell you? Well, this is definitely a your style
It's
game for
definitely a
sure.
chase game. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Uh
gonna
huh.
have Brandon games on here, and we're gonna have chase games on here. This is definitely a chase game. Um and yeah, so I've that comes out the 31st, I believe. Either the 30th, 31st, very soon. So I'm gonna be picking that up like this week and I'm gonna try to squeeze in two streams, a Fire Emblem stream and then a stream with that. Um and the only other thing I did was I checked out that Xbox Bethesda showcase.
Oh
Um
yeah. Yeah. What happened with that?
Honestly,
Anything good?
the only thing that I saw that looked decent was it was Tango Gameworks new game, Hi-Fi Rush, which is kind of
Okay.
like a third person like beat 'em up, but the you try to do the actions to the beat of the music that's going on. So it's
Okay.
another one of those style games, and it looks really cool. Other than that, they showed off Forza. Forza looks gorgeous. I mean, that's the one thing that I can say about racing games is they're usually like the graphical showcase of console generation. So it looks gorgeous. They showed more of Redfall. It looks like Left 4 Dead with fucking vampires. They showed Minecraft Legends, and I think that's
Some
really all about it. I mean, I know think I'm missing something else here, but nothing really jumped out at me. It was kind of underwhelming. I guess Bethesda's gonna be holding their own event with Starfield later. We kind of touched on that last week, but I know I'm probably missing something, but that means it just didn't jump out at me if I'm forgetting about it. But yeah, pretty much Hi-Fi Rush was the only thing that looked cool. Everything else was just kind of okay. We expected this. Forza, Redfall, Minecraft. Yeah, nothing of note really. Um, yeah,
Well,
literally nothing.
that's kind of a bummer and a letdown, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad I kind of watched it at work because then I could just kind of pay attention to it in the background, and because it was in my opinion a waste of 45 minutes, but
Mm,
whatever. Um,
well, that stinks.
yeah, we both watched the second episode of The Last of Us.
Oh man, yeah. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes here.
Yeah, so I'll let
what?
you I'll let you go. I'll let you go first. What'd you think of it?
Okay, so I was saying last week that I probably needed like 3 episodes to really give my opinion on it. Um, I'm kind of sold after 2 episodes already. Like tonight for sure, I will for sure know. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Spoilers for people, if you're wanting to watch it or whatever, probably tune out for the next couple of minutes. But one of the big things that me and you talked about that I really was worried about was the clickers, right? How they were going to portray them and things like that. Um, Spot on. They absolutely nailed them
Agree.
spot on. I
They nailed it.
thought they looked just like how they were in the game. You were telling me that they even pulled the sounds that they make from the game
Yep,
and used
they're
those on
using
the
the exact
show.
sound. I mean, they're touching them up to make them sound good on TV and everything. But yeah, they're using the
Right.
same. Yep.
So I was excited for that because that was one of those things me and you talked about that like that sound they make, man. You'd be like just minding your own business and then you hear that sound and it was just like instant. You stopped in the game, like pan your camera around, like
Right.
where's it at? Where's it at? So I thought that was really well done. I mean, obviously they changed a little bit of the storyline. Me and you had discussed that at work, but overall, I mean, I think it's good. It's keeping me interested. So definitely, I'm going to keep watching it. I mean, until it comes to a point where it's not good, which I'm hoping is not the case because me and you both gushed over the first game. I loved it,
Uh huh.
absolutely loved
Still
it.
love it, even
So
though, like I said, despite my misgivings
hopefully,
about the second game, the first game was killer. And I have kind of the same sentiment. I mean, I still think it's good. I'm still not sold on it. I'm a little bit more. You'll find out real quick that I'm a little bit more reserved and critical uh, than Brandon in some ways.
Yeah,
And so yeah,
some
in
ways.
some ways, there's some things that I'm like, oh, this is great, and you're like, what? But I think it's still pretty good so far. They knocked the clicker out of the park. The performances are still really spot on. Like Pedro Pascal's knocking out Joel, Bella Ramsey's knocking out Ellie. Um, so well, it'll be interesting to see as it goes on. It was cool to kind of see a little bit more of the origins of the spores and how they initially spread and things like that. Because they only kind of just briefly touch on it in like things that you read in the game. This they kind of showed it, so that was kind of cool to see. Um, yeah, I'm still not like completely sold though. I need to see how this keeps going, but it's looking strong so far. That's what I will say. It's especially with them knocking the clicker out of the park. That's
Mhm.
and then on top of the character performances that they already have, uh, it's looking pretty killer so far. Um,
Definitely. And
so we'll
some
see.
slam dunks for sure.
And as we said last week, far better so far than The Walking Dead. Um,
Miles.
just like I said, that show was good for about a season and a half, maybe. um, But yeah, I guess we're gonna go ahead. Like we had kind of a light week in the game section, so we're gonna go ahead and just jump into news here. Because we actually have quite a bigger news
Yeah.
section this week. Some updates, kind of for some last week's stories. Ubisoft Paris unions issue of list of demands, and apparently there was a half day strike on Friday if the demands weren't met. Which I never saw if they did end up striking at all. But according to PC Gamer, this was 12 days ago. Um, yep. The Solidarities Informatique Union, it's French, so forgive me. This is via PC Gamer, has called for a strike.
That's actually pretty spot on.
Yeah,
Pretty good pronunciation.
called for a strike at Ubisoft Paris at January 27th. Let's see. And that was like in response to like Eve Guillermo's like tweet basically saying like the balls in your or email
Oh
ground basically
yeah.
saying like the balls in
Oh
your court, and I want to see what their listed demands are. The union's demands are an immediate 10% increase for all salaries regardless of annual increases to compensate for inflation, with hundreds of millions of euros obtained from Tencent, because Tencent owns Ubisoft and Tencent's fucking huge. They're a huge Chinese conglomerate. There's plenty of money for them to kick over a raise for all the employees. The improvement of working conditions, in particular, the implementation of a 4-day work week. Again, mind you, this is in France. They've been pushing overall in France for 4-day work week for a while. So that's no surprise. Transparency on the evolution of the workforce, both locally and globally. So just more transparency on what the fuck's going on, where the money's going. And a strong commitment against disguised dismissals and condemnation of abusive managers policies that push abusive managerial policies that push employees to resign. So none of these demands really, in my opinion, seem all that ridiculous. They seem pretty fair. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it seems pretty fine to me. I mean, the increase in salary, like they said, is basically for increase in inflation and stuff, which that's normal stuff that should be happening all the time, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see that as being too far fetched, and it's not an overly crazy amount, right? It's 10%. I think that's pretty fair. The 4-day work week, I mean, yes or no. It really just depends. I
I mean, I'd
mean,
push for a 4-day work week here personally, but
I mean, we work 5 days a week, so I mean
I'd still
that's
push
not a
for
big
four.
it's not a big deal. And I know like lots of places, even here in the U.S., do like 4-day work weeks where you work 4 10-hour shifts or whatever. And if that's your thing, cool. I mean, if I could work 4 10-day shifts, I probably would. Honestly, it's not that bad.
Right. And the strike doesn't look like it's that crazy. It's only a half day strike, and they said they did it from 2 to 6 p.m. So after lunch, they strike for the rest of the day. Um, and like I said, I don't know if they actually ended up striking because this was posted 12 days ago. Um, But this isn't the first time. This is, again, according to PC Gamer. This isn't the first time it's taken action against Ubisoft. In 2021, the union filed legal action against Ubisoft over allegations of institutional sexual harassment.
Oh, big surprise there.
Yep. And later that year, criticized Ubisoft's plans to move to NFTs as a useless and costly and ecologically mortifying. Like, that's PC Gamer's quote. Um, yeah. So Ubisoft has just been kind of just in hot water all over the place. And
Mm.
I don't know what the hell is going on with that company, but seems like there's some major changes that need to be made and then need to be made at the top. Once again, like we kind of mentioned last week. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And that's it. It's got to change at the top and then trickle down effect.
Right.
Unfortunately, time again, that's the video game world. I mean, it's not the first time we've heard sexual misconduct allegations. I mean, Blizzard's been plagued with them for a while, and a bunch of other companies. So, I mean, definitely something to keep an eye on, see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's not just the games industry. It's kind of everywhere. There's a lot of, you know, misconduct and just shitty workplace practices that just often go, but it's especially pretty bad in the games industry. Um,
Yeah.
Following up, we've got a Microsoft block again. There's a shakeup at 34 Industries. Joseph Staten, head of the Halo team, left to go back to Xbox Publishing. Rumors that 343 is going to stop working on Halo, although they might outsource it to smaller studios. According to Kotaku, they've issued a statement saying they're going to continue to work on Halo, but that kind of doesn't mean in what capacity. Are they just going to be
Right.
assisting?
Right.
Like that? That's pretty vague. And then in a tweet, he said that uh, that the layoffs were kind of blamed on poor management. There's been a lot of tweets coming out from a lot of 343 people that have been saying that it's just been poor management. Uh, let's see. According to Kotaku, this is according to former Halo Infinite multiplayer designer Patrick Wren. The layoffs shouldn't have happened, and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. The reasons for both of those things is incompetent leadership up to during Halo Infinite's development, causing massive stress on those working hard to make Halo the best it can be. So once again, kind of, I mean, like we just talked about with Ubisoft, sounds like more management bullshit from the top, especially when, again, like we said last week, or I think I might have said it, is like, this is Microsoft and this is Halo. How are you letting it get this bad? This would be like the equivalent of like Nintendo like fucking up a Mario game, or Sega fucking up a
Yeah.
Sonic game. Like, I mean, what do you think?
Hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, Halo, that's their brainchild, their baby. And to let it get that bad, that's clearly not good. To the fact that you're talking, there's rumors that it's going to get shelved. I mean, yikes, dude. That's
Well, not shelved, just like that 343 might not be in full control of it anymore. Like,
yeah,
yeah, and you've got, the head of the Halo team like leaving to go back to Xbox Publishing, saying, "I'm out. I'm going back to the publishing
yeah.
business."
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that's not good.
like that's a surefire sign that it's not looking great. And like
No,
like
not at all.
and for Halo, like what we talked about it last week. What else do they have? We talked about the Xbox Bethesda showcase at the top of the show during my little section there.
Clearly not anything. So
Yeah. So
it's not looking good.
nope. Um, Continuing with this kind of in the realm because Microsoft's trying to buy them. Brian Birmingham, Blizzard engineer. Let me make sure I'm getting his name right. Yes, Brian Birmingham. I didn't know if it was Ham or Han, but is leaving Blizzard. This is according to Jason Schreier and Bloomberg. Um, and he was behind a big person behind World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, their mobile card game. Uh, yep, he is leaving due to being against a new employee appraisal system. From what I read, the appraisal system is basically like it's going to grade on a curve and always result in somebody getting fired. So
Lovely.
So like even if somebody does the report says here that basically he had to like bump somebody's score down that was meeting satisfactory standards and it made them hit unsatisfactory because the company put pressure on him to bump it down and it resulted in people getting terminated. Uh
Well,
so
that sounds like a fantastic grading scale.
yeah. So like yeah, why would you have an appraisal system that always leads to somebody getting laid off? Like we got to
That
always cut
sounds
somebody.
awful.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense to me. And once again, Microsoft buying Blizzard, they should be having some money like to keep those people, I don't know. Keep those people
Yeah,
on.
you would think that that would be generating some revenue. You know what I mean? Make you probably possibly even want to hire some more employees. You know what I mean, to work on projects and stuff. But well,
Yep.
what do I know?
Yeah, you'd think. Um Next story, another Microsoft story. Like I said, it's a Microsoft block here. If this is going to make you feel any better, Microsoft is reportedly making a multi-billion-dollar investment in OpenAI, and this is according to CNN. And if you don't know what OpenAI is, it's the creator of the GPT AI, that chatbot that's going around. Um,
I'm not
uh,
familiar with that.
yeah. We informed our partnership with OpenAI and shared ambition to responsibly advance cutting edge AI research and democratize AI as a new technology platform. Um, oh, my camera just cut out. Keep talking there. We're going to keep talking. Chat GPT has captured the attention of and sometimes sparked concerns for academics, business leaders. Basically, just know it's a very like front facing chat AI that they're buying. Future of porn bots. Let's just think of it like that.
Oh
Because
Lord.
let's face it, that's probably what's going to happen first. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so that it's funny after just talking about the layoffs and all that, but then they're going to go ahead and once again dump some money into something else, when they're claiming that they don't have money. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that. What is there to say? I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Testing 1 2. There I
To buy
am.
this or buy that, and that doesn't make any sense at all to me. But I don't know.
Right.
I mean, but I mean, they have this practice in saying that like in order to make money, you have to spend money. So I mean, I get that, but at what cost? You're just going to lay off employees? I mean, it's not. I don't know. That's not something I really believe in. But and then
Right.
again, I've never ran a really huge company before, so
Hey, I'm back,
there is
guys.
that too.
Sorry about that, y'all. I have so much stuff plugged into this computer that this is just what it does. And we're live, so we just don't edit anything. But yeah, so there's that. And then the next story I have is for Microsoft is so this one's kind of funny. So you know how we were talking about um Microsoft subpoena or Microsoft going to the trial and the FTC possibly blocking their Activision
Oh
buyout. Remember we were
yeah.
talking about
Yep.
that? Okay. So apparently,
Got some juicies for us.
so
Spill the tea
Sony was
for
the
us.
one really pushing for this, and it might have backfired because now Microsoft has subpoenaed Sony and basically trying to get them to like they're gonna have to like leak details of like what they have coming in like the year. So we could get leaked details. Now this is according to GameIndustry.biz. Um, but so they're just like trying to prepare a defense and be like, well, look at what Sony's got coming out. They'll be fine. Um, so I think I find that kind of hilarious that Sony was like really pushing for them to go, and now it's kind of backfiring because they might have to say
Yeah.
like what they have coming down the pipe in the next coming years.
That's the slap on the hand as it goes in the cookie jar, essentially.
Right, right. So I just found that there's not much more to say about that except for a subpoena has been filed. And yeah, I just find that that was pretty funny. And then the last
It'll be
Microsoft,
interesting to see how that pans out as well.
right? And then the last story from the Microsoft block is um they add some power consumption options to the Xbox Series X and S. Because I don't know if you guys know, these consoles put out a lot of suck on a lot of juice. Uses about 10 to 15 watts even when it's in standby mode. But this will actually reduce it to about a half a watt, which is pretty cool that they can do that and still like do updates in the background and stuff. I mean, if you care about, trying to reduce, not only is it better for the environment, but it kind of reduces your energy bill costs too. So that's at least a good thing that the Xbox division is doing. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Any sort of what do we call that? Like comfort of life stuff. Like I'm all for that stuff.
Mm,
Power saving options, being able to adjust settings. The more settings they can give you to adjust on stuff, dude, I'm all about that because let's face it, like lots of systems, they have built-in lights and things like that that run that like while they look cool, that also consumes battery life, et cetera, et cetera. So if I have the ability to turn that stuff off, most of the time I usually do because I don't need all that flash myself personally. I'm in my 30s, bro. Like that stuff ain't getting me excited. And the only thing it's giving me is anxiety when I'm like, oh, all the battery life's gonna die. So yeah, I think it's a great strategy, honestly. Very good business wise too. You're trying to make your consumer base happy. So yeah, why not?
right. Yeah. I think, like I said, anything that's better for the environment and also saves you money. I mean, why not? Like that just seems like a win-win. Um, I feel like I called this like when the thing was first launched. This is according to Game Rant. Google Stadia, or Google confirms the exact shutdown time for Google Stadia. So Google Stadia, their console that they came out with what in 2021, something like that. Their little
It's not been
streaming.
out very long.
Yeah, they are shutting down. They're going as far as to give you like I think Steam vouchers to get the games that that like you had on your console. You can get them.
Oh man.
Um, yep.
Well, at
So
least they're being nice enough to do that.
yeah, so I mean, I kind of saw this coming from a mile away when they first kind of released Google Stadia, and it was not what they claimed to be. Like, oh, we're gonna be able to stream games to you in 4K and 60 FPS, and it's like, no, you could barely do 720. Um, so and there was and
Um,
it was one of those cases too where like what exclusives did they have? They had no reason for people to kind of flock over and
oh,
make games
not at
for it.
all.
Yeah.
No, me and you had talked about that when they first announced them. Was like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
And they're pulling the plug on the Chromecast that make them that like because there was a certain model Chromecast you needed for Stadia to work. I guess
Oh, okay.
they're pulling all of those. Um, I think they said that the controller's still gonna be able to work though,
On
like
like
with your
a computer
PC.
or something like that.
Yeah, like on your PC. I think
Hmm.
they said that that's going to happen. But yeah, that is that the shortest lived console ever, or I don't know how
Uh,
long did the Philips 3DO
not
how
very
long
long.
did that one last? Or the what was it? Or was the Panasonic 3DO? I can't remember if it's Philip or Panasonic that made that. Um, yeah, that was pretty short lived. But or Sega wasn't Sega Saturn pretty short too? Um,
Yeah, that was not very long either.
yeah, but so that doesn't surprise me. I mean, it didn't seem like a worthwhile investment in the first place, if I'm gonna be honest. Um, let's see.
Oh, here you go. Uh, I just happened to find this on Gamer Rant. So they have like a list of consoles, like their runtime, right? Uh, Longest running so far was at number 12 was PlayStation 2,
Mhm.
active from 2000 to 2013. So 13 years, that's pretty good. PlayStation TV, the shortest, from 2013 to 2016.
PlayStation TV, I don't even remember that.
ColecoVision was only 3 years. It was 82 to 85. So,
Okay.
oh, wow, the Wii actually did longer than I thought. Huh. Yeah, it looks like most of them on the short span is about 3 years, maybe. So, yeah, they got them beat by what? Only 2 years instead of
Right.
three. So, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'd say we stay tuned for Stadia updates, but it looks like we're not going to be getting much anymore. So,
guess not.
next news story, a game that came out a couple years ago,
All right.
Marvel's Avengers is getting its final updates. That Square Enix Crystal Dynamics game, basically the people who are behind um, Crystal Dynamics. They were, oh my god, why am I blanking? Tomb Raider. That's what they were making originally.
Okay.
Um, and this is according to Polygon. Yes, Polygon. It looks like it's November's 2.7 update, which, or nope, that was their last update, which added the Winter Soldier to the roster of playable heroes and the cloning lab of Omega level threat. And that's the final content to be added to the game. Um, However,
Omega level.
it looks like their end
That's
date
an
is going to
industrial.
be after September 2023. We cannot guarantee that we will address any issues that occur to unforeseen circumstances. So it's and I saw it's actually pulled off shelves. You can still digitally buy it, but like you can't find physical copies of it anymore, I guess. So
Interesting.
that's interesting that it only lasted that long. I don't know. From what I heard about that game, I didn't play a ton of it. From what I understand is that game had middling gameplay, but the story was decent, but it suffered from the same problem that Destiny had when you got to the end game and then it was like, okay, now what?
Yeah, that's a big problem. A lot of games find is they do a lot of development and thinking through like the beginning and middle, but then you get to the end and there's just a shortage of stuff to do at the end, right?
Well, especially when it's a live service game. Like you have to be able
Hmm.
to continue to develop content, and if you don't have any content ready to go or any
Yeah,
ideas for content, that doesn't bode well
yeah.
at all.
Usually, most stuff like that, like for example, like MMOs and stuff, right? So usually, when they launch the game, they usually have some sort of basic end game content, like a raid or something like that, and then generally they will develop and release, raids after that to kind of get them through the development into like the next expansion or like the next game. So yeah, I mean, if you don't got any of that stuff, I mean, talk about snooze fest. What are you gonna do? Like, what's gonna keep me logging in, keep me playing?
Right.
Nothing.
Right. And as someone who doesn't play a whole lot of live service games to begin with and is narrative driven, like you could have done so much more to like make that gameplay engaging to show people that story. Because that is what a lot of people universally loved was that they actually said it told an interesting story.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know. Guess that
you're a
sucks. And
lot
then
like
I even heard that Guardians of the Galaxy did pretty well, and that game was actually received better. That
interesting.
wasn't made by Crystal D, but um, it's interesting to see that you had that game that did well, but Avengers couldn't. Which you would almost think it would be the other way around. More money would be paid attention to Avengers than
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy. But I guess I don't know.
priorities.
Priorities. Yep. Next story that we have here, we're actually flying through these pretty quick. Looks like Riot, the developers of League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics, had source code leaked and had source code stolen, is being held ransom. This isn't like last week when what was it, Motorsports Games was having stuff held ransom for unpaid wages. This looks like it was just an attack on their stuff,
Oh,
and the source code was taken. Um, and they actually stole source code for anti cheat, and this is according to Video Games Chronicle. Um, Looks like while this attack disrupted our build environment and could cause issues in the future, most importantly, we remain confident that no player data or player personal information was compromised. So at least that was good that nobody's like player data
yeah,
got out there. But like League of Legends is like one of Riot's, or is probably Riot's like biggest fucking game. How did that happen? How did you not have like source code for future? And it said it was source code for future content that may or may not make it into the game. So it was stuff that they were
yeah.
testing. Um, So how do you not protect that? That seems a little when it's like that's again like kind of talking when we were talking Microsoft and Halo, like that's like Riot's baby is League of
Oh
Legends.
yeah.
So I
Oh,
and team t-
it's huge. People love them some League of Legends, man. I will tell you what.
yeah, those esports events, I don't watch them, but like I have a friend on Twitter, she's like all about that, like went to a couple and she says they're like
Hmm.
massive like $1 million productions just for their
Oh yeah.
esports tournament. So the fact that they just allowed that to just get taken and leaked out, that's rough.
Yeah, that's a yeah, that's a no, that's a short end of the stick to be on for sure.
And then it looks like and like I said, it's for Teamfight Tactics too, and Teamfight Tactics too is also pretty big. And it looks like that they have filed a report and all that. They're looking into it. But yeah, they're looking for the group responsible because it did look like that it was a group effort that did this. Um, the next story, we're gonna actually kind of let you take over this story. It was some story, a little bit about the you have a little bit about the RE4 remake.
Yeah, so I've been doing some listening and stuff. Um, a lot of this comes from Gamer Rant, and then by extension, some of the interview they had in Edge magazine with the developers and stuff. So we do have an official launch day, March 24th. And they were saying basically in Edge magazine that it's going to be more faithful to the original game than per se like Resident Evil 3 remake was. And a lot of that's due in part to the company that worked on Resident Evil 2, which for people that have played the games know stayed a little bit more true to the source material of the original. They're going to be the ones piloting behind the Resident Evil 4 remake. So that's awesome. I'm totally on board with that. Um, for sure. Uh, and They were also discussing here, and it says here, latest issue of Ez magazine reported that they confirmed the original core areas are all represented in the remake, which is a big thing. A lot of people consider it kind of a controversy, right? So, spoilers for anybody that's never played RE4, which I don't know how at this point in our lifespan, but the end section of the game takes place on this a section they refer to as the island, and it was very controversial because it kind of steered away from the whole survival aspect, survival horror aspect, and it's mostly just like action, really a lot of action based stuff, waves and waves of enemies. And so I know some people were probably hoping that it was going to get cut or whatever. But I guess apparently they have come out and said they're not cutting that. That's for sure going to be in the game, which to me, I didn't mind it. Yeah, it's a little bit more action based, but I didn't think it really took away overall from the game. Um, it does to me kind of feel like it was just kind of thrown in there. It like story wise, it didn't really make too much sense to me. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to be. I'm hoping that maybe they bridge that gap a little bit better in the remake to make it fit better, since they have clearly come out and said we're not cutting that. So that'll be interesting. Definitely something to keep our eyes on for sure for the future as far as the RE4 remake comes, because as me and you have stated, it's the best one in the franchise,
By far,
literally. And it's still heralded as one of the best survival horror games out there, period. So
for sure.
I know they've got to be feeling pressure as a company to do it justice and do it right, because I mean, you fuck that up and everybody's gonna hate you. So
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's not one you want to fuck up for sure.
Mm-mm.
Um yeah, I was gonna say and if you have the team behind the Resident Evil 2 remake, I feel like it's in pretty good hands because that's a different team than the Resident Evil 3 remake.
Yes,
They're
two different teams.
two
Yep.
different teams, yeah. So, and I felt like the 2 remake did better than the 3 make. So,
For sure.
um, yeah. So I'm excited to at least touch it. I know you'll probably pick it up, so I might have to
Oh yeah.
watch some streams. We do plan on at least I plan on I'm gonna start recording a lot of my streams and posting them to the Black Box channel, YouTube channel. So I know I plan on doing that, and I'm sure Brandon will do that too. Start recording them so we can put our like impressions of early impressions of games out and stuff like that. Um, the next story we have here is a kind of a small story, a story that originally irritated me, but I calmed down after I read a little bit more. So there's a bunch of rumors kind of going around that we're gonna get a PS5 hardware refresh soon. Um, and originally there was a tweet that came out which has since been debunked, but originally it said Sony PS5 Pro may launch before May 2023 with liquid cooling. Um, which originally that was the thing that ticked me off originally was like, oh my god, they're already coming out with a pro version of the PS5 when you just now get to the point where PS5s have been in store. But this has been since been debunked. This is from techgoing.com and the reporter is Tom Henderson. It looks like that this hardware refresh might be more of like um, a version without the disk drive, and then they're gonna sell the disk drive separately, which I also think is stupid. Um,
Yeah.
so what are they gonna do? Like discontinue? It's so they can. It looks like the report here says so they can like streamline the process of making enough to get out there. If they just had to make
Okay.
one, if they just had to make one SKU, um, how much do you think they would charge extra for a disk drive? Like if you bought, like would they just charge you 400 for the console and then another 100 for the disk drive to make that 500 cost?
I would say probably at least somewhere between 100 and 200 bucks, I would say, would be my ballpark guess.
And that sounds.
Just because,
No, go ahead.
no, I'm just thinking, like, just in my head mathematically, like you were saying, like, that to me makes logical sense. I couldn't, like, I think 200 would be outrageous, but I couldn't see them trying to go any more than that, you know?
Well, and that standalone like proprietary extra memory you can buy for the Xbox Series X is like over $200. When in reality
Yeah.
it should not cost that much, but for some reason because they are using some proprietary tech, that it's what I think it's over. I think it's like 250 or something like that for
It's
extra memory.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
You can just buy your own external hard drive and plug it in.
right. But yeah,
I mean, nobody does that.
I'm not really ready for a Pro yet. I feel like the PS4 Pro was needed because those consoles released kind of underpowered. They released and then 4K took off, and then they didn't really adjust for that, which is why they had to come out with a Pro. This time around, like this PlayStation can do 8K. So it doesn't seem like we're in that spot yet where we need a Pro or anything like that.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like the PS4 Pro didn't come out for quite a while
Yeah,
after, right? I mean, we're what, like 2 years into the PS5 now?
2 or 3, something
Maybe.
like that.
It seems like a lot
Came
less
out in
because
2020. Yeah,
so it seems, and honestly, realistically, it's less than that because it really has not been widely
available.
spread. Honestly, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
So
been hard to get your hands on
realistically,
one until recently.
I
Now,
would cut that 2 years down to probably maybe a year and a half.
right,
I would consider it then.
exactly. So yeah, I don't think we're really ready for one. I hope we don't get
No.
one. But I also think, I get the argument that more and more people are going digital, but I don't I don't know. Maybe I'm just the old man saying let me keep my disk drive.
Well, I
But
mean, I like it. It's nice. It's got, you have your pros and cons, right? So digital, obviously, it's nice because you don't have to go anywhere. It just downloads, cool. When you're done with it, you just delete it, and then like if you want to play it again, you just re-download it again from the cloud. Essentially, it's pretty nice. But at the same flip side, I was actually just telling my buddy that I play Dungeons and Dragons with last night that like I still like having a physical disc because like for example, that's how I was able to play Ragnarok, right? Because you had a physical copy of it, you brought it to work, I was able to borrow it and play it. Like with digital, you can't really do that. So
well, not to mention that like I don't have to worry about it, but like some internet providers like have data caps. Like you have a limit on how much you could download per month.
right,
So then with how big these games are, you can hit your cap just by like downloading a couple games easily.
yeah,
So that is my other knee jerk reaction to, you know, going all digital. I just like being able to have the option to do both. Is
yes,
what I like,
yes.
and I don't know. I don't see how how well, and they're not going to change the design of the PS5. So how is that gonna like? Is that disk drive just gonna like hang off the side, or you have to sit next to it? Like if they do an, like is it gonna
I was
bolt
trying
on?
to picture that myself
Like
too.
you've got the weird fucking look of the PS5 already.
It's just like a dongle that hangs
You
from
can't
it.
really clip it onto the side to that like really well. Like I don't know. That just I don't know how that'll work. On top of, probably being expensive.
Look, the disk drive's gonna still be on it, and then they sell it to you, but you can't use it until you buy the disk drive, and they give you a code that you put in that unlocks it.
And gives you a code that takes you to the store, that lets you download another code. That makes you
Yeah.
download an avatar. No. This is just a real small story here. The DualSense Edge controller launched. This is kind of like the answer to the Xbox Elite controllers that Microsoft had during the last generation and the Elite 2 that just came out. Um, I don't know. Do you think you'll get one? I
Uh, so no, probably not. I mean, I told you at work, my first thing I thought when I saw it was scuff controller. That's exactly what it reminds me
right.
of.
And that's pretty much the
It's
Elite
cool.
controllers, where they're really nice scuff controllers, because the Elite
Yeah.
controllers like made out of like really high quality materials, and I'm sure the Edge is
Mhm.
too. So it's better than just like a scuff, because the scuff is just a modded
Yeah.
version of the classic controller. And you'll be able to do the same things like like adjust the triggers, swap out thumbsticks, all like D-pad, all that
Yep.
stuff. Um, but
So it was actually really interesting. I have my controller right here. So on the back of it, when I was looking at it, it has like two switches that are going to go right here, and you can program them into like buttons on here, like your X button or whatever. So essentially, you wouldn't have to take your thumbstick off to push it right. You can use one of your free fingers to push one of those buttons.
for those listening,
So
he was pointing to the backside of his controller.
yeah, it's like a little like little paddles
Mm,
that go on the back there that you can program buttons in. That's kind of interesting, but like for me, I don't see a real use. I mean, I could see it like if you're like super into like multiplayer games, like I don't know, Call of Duty and
competitive.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that, but like for my general play style, I probably won't ever get one because I just
Right.
not appealing to me. It was cool though because it did look like it's got a switch on the side, so you can have multiple setups programmed into one controller.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So
That's cool.
yeah, yeah. So that was pretty cool. I did see that. I think it houses up to three, maybe four profiles on the per controller, so you could have a few different setups for a few different games you like to play, or if if you're like how I was growing up and you had siblings, you could have each of you could have your own setup on that controller for when you're playing. So kind of cool.
Right. And then
And battery saving options too. Don't forget that.
it does
That's
have
that
battery
was one of the
saving.
main things.
Oh, you said it. You did find it or no?
Yeah, that they did talk about that too, like battery saving options too on it, which is cool. I'm fairly positive. Um, which is cool
Because
because
that was my
their
biggest complaint
controller life
about.
sucks.
Yeah, the battery life on the PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 5 controller now sucks. The battery life on the PS4 controller sucked. Um like
Yeah,
I have
I
to charge
feel
this
like
all
it
the
did,
time.
but maybe not.
But that was the biggest reason why I wasn't going to get it, is because I want a better battery life. I don't want to have the
Yeah.
base battery life that it has now. I want to have a better battery life than what it has. And what, that controller is like $200, something like that, maybe 150. Uh, if I'm not getting better battery life, I don't see a reason to use it, because I don't think I'll use anything else. I like the sticks. I don't mind the D-pad. The face buttons I feel are a little mushy, but you can't really swap those out. So other than that,
Uh,
I'm kind of cool with
okay,
that.
let's see here. So just real quickly, just to pull this up for reference for us. So it is a $200 price tag for the controller, which is outrageous. I would never pay that. Yeah, carrying case, two lever back buttons. That's what I was talking about. Two half dome buttons, low dome caps, high dome caps. So yeah, I don't know if it's mappable back buttons, customizable controls, replaceable stick modules. No, it doesn't say anything about battery saving life on here. I guess I was wrong. So
So yeah, I don't really see the point in jumping on one unless I can get one with a better battery life. That's just me.
Yeah.
Um,
If anything, I'd imagine this thing would probably suck down the battery life faster.
right. That's my fear too. Is that it would with it? I know it's a heavier controller, so I feel like it would just end up sucking that down even farther. Um, Next story. This is from Gizmodo. Apparently, a Nintendo patent was found for an AR system, an augmented reality system. Now, originally, it says this patent reveals a hint at a smartphone reveal for Nintendogs. If you remember Nintendogs from back in the day, that was super popular. But
Yeah.
I don't see them. We see companies file patents all the time and they never really do anything with it. They just kind of do it to do it. Um, so I don't really see them making an AR thing just for Nintendogs unless they're gonna do like a Pokemon Go situation. But what do you think about the possibility of like Nintendo getting into like AR or VR? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, for one, I would say they're probably leagues behind everybody else right now, right out the gate. So if they're going to branch into that, um, good for them, you know. But I feel like they're miles behind already because PlayStation's already been doing that for a while now. So,
Right.
uh, and even then, the few VR things that I've seen, I mean, they look like they're fun, but like graphically wise, they're not really there yet either. So, I mean, that's really honestly, that's like the next step I feel like as far as gaming goes, anyways, because eventually we'll get up to a high enough, 4K, 10K, whatever. Your eyes are not even going to be able to even distinguish what's going on, anyways,
Yeah,
between a certain
I believe I
percent.
don't quote me on this, but I believe when I was in dev school, I read that 16K is as high as our eyes can detect. So
Yeah.
once you
So, I
pass
mean,
that, you're gonna get diminishing returns.
yeah. So eventually, I mean, the only way to really go further is to develop this VR and things like that. So, I mean, you're there and then start being able to tune it so it feels like you're there, but now graphic wise too are there. So,
Right. Um, this is just a smaller story. For people who like the SteamWorld games, like SteamWorld Dig, SteamWorld Heist. SteamWorld Build was announced. If you notice, SteamWorld they kind of do like a different genre almost every game, except they did do a SteamWorld Dig too, and the demo is out now, so that's kind of cool. That's just a quick smaller story that I have. Last of Us Part One sales jumped after the show aired. Does that really surprise anybody?
it's going to say shocker, not surprising at all. I can imagine there's probably like younger people going around going, "Yeah, man, you heard about this new Last of Us or whatever?" It's like, that is
Here
not
comes
new, bro.
Brandon
I was
gatekeeping.
I, I was there when the Deep Magic was written. All right, come on now.
Yeah, and I mean the same thing happened when The Witcher aired. Like there was a
Yeah.
spike in the
Oh,
sale
yeah.
for The Witcher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
They had a huge jump from when the show aired in not only the games, but like the
the books.
books, merchandise, everything. I mean, through the roof. So I really can't say I'm that surprised about Last of Us stuff going through the roof right now.
Yeah. Another smaller story, kind of related to wrestling, but I haven't heard too much about it. The WWE 2K23 is going to be launching in March, which if you guys do pay attention to the wrestling games, they've been kind of taking a little bit more time with them because they've been trash for the last few years. Last while, they've steadily been getting worse. The last game was okay. 2K20 was so full of bugs that they skipped 21 and made it 2022. So, and they used to, and it was like on that Madden cadence where every year you'd get, for those who don't know who the 2K games are, if you remember from back in the day, the WWF SmackDown games, that's what they became, was just
Okay.
2K because they ended up getting bought by 2K or they got the licensing for it. So they've been doing them with like the same engine forever. And the good ones play good, but the bad ones play bad. And I remember 2K20 when it first launched, like you had people like falling through the ring and like was like trudging through it like quicksand
God.
and you had
Yikes.
like the ropes freaking the fuck out and like tangling you up in it and just it was like emblematic of that series just going downhill, downhill, downhill and then fucking rock bottom. Like if you
Oh.
smell what they're cooking. Like it and I actually have 2K20 and I downloaded it like a year and a half after launch and it seems to work now. And now they have 2K 2022's out and 2023 is coming, but Man, I hope that those games are good because a little piece of me still likes playing those games because it's like the only wrestling game we get, and it's a little less of the simulation, or it's a little bit less of the arcadey No Mercy. It's more of like that super serious like simulation. Like if No Mercy is like NFL Blitz, like the 2K games are like Madden, like very like serious, like we wanted to have it close to life, yada yada yada. But yeah, I'm hoping the hair tech looks good because their hair always looks good, like garbage, like the wet hair
Oh yeah. Oh
always looks
yeah.
really fucking bad. But we'll see. I don't know. I have hopes that game. Maybe I'll pick that up because I find those games fun even when they're broken. Um, but in the creator suite that they have, like that's like that was like the greatest thing in the games for the longest time, is like all the different things you could create. Like you could make arenas for any like defunct wrestling. Like there's people making ECW arenas. They have WCW arenas in there, but you can like make there's people making AEW stuff in there and New Japan stuff in there, like that you can just download. Like, oh, I want a Kenny Omega. Let me just download a Kenny Omega in a WWE game, and it's somebody who's made him to a T. But then you'd have to play the game, and playing the game for the last few just hasn't been fun. The entrances look cool, the characters look cool, everything looks cool, and then you have to play the game, and that's its downfall, is that you have to play the game. I'm
You know,
hoping. Go ahead.
the last wrestling game I remember playing, and I don't even remember what the name of it was, but I remember it was on the original Xbox. And if you had,
WWE Raw. Oh my god, I think
and
that's what
if
you were talking about.
and if you had downloaded music onto your Xbox, you could load that music into the game and use it as your custom character's intro theme music. Oh boy, man. I thought that was cool. The game itself,
Yeah, wasn't that the one where you can like rig like TVs to fall on somebody before they come out to the.
yes.
Like
Yeah,
I was like,
yes. Yes.
that's never fucking happened. I've been watching wrestling since I was 8. I've never seen a guy walk through an archway and then a huge ass tube TV fucking falls on him and knocks him out. Like that's never fucking happened. A lot of ridiculous
Never
things happen
happened.
in wrestling. I can say 1000% that has never happened. And that was like a thing that you could do in the game to give your guy a bonus, like
Yeah,
going into a
give him an
match in story
edge.
mode. Yeah, it was like have a TV fall on his fucking head. Like makes no sense. Like, and it was a tube TV on top of that, like a big ass
Yeah.
tube TV.
Yeah.
Like,
Why would a random TV just be chilling up in that hallway? And you know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah, and
made
like
no
you
sense.
wouldn't be able to do the match afterwards if a fucking tube TV fell on you. You'd be going to the fucking hospital. Those things were
Yeah,
heavy. It
you'd probably be dead.
wasn't like a small tube TV either. Like, oh man, like ridiculous. Man, that game was
Oh,
god awful. But yeah. Um, this next story comes from comicbook.com. It looks like some interesting stuff has leaked about the next game by Mercury Steam, the next Metroid game by Mercury Steam. If you don't
ooh,
know, they were the ones that made Metroid Dread for the Switch, which did really well. I didn't end up playing it
really
myself,
well.
but it was like an HD 2D Metroid. But the new rumor, we don't have much about this, but the rumor suggests that they're early in development for the next one and is set to release in 2025. And this is a Spanish leaker known as Nash Weedle on Twitter, it looks like. So
Okay.
we don't know how credible this is. This is just a story that kind of like some people picked up, so it must have a little bit of credibility. So yeah, other than that though, we don't know anything. That's just kind of what I found. But another 2D Metroid, and Metroid Dread did really well.
I'm all for that.
Yeah,
Because, yeah, I was actually excited when they announced Metroid Dread. And, like, we didn't hear anything about it. And then I remember when they announced that it was going to be, like, the 2D kind of
like Super
uh,
Metroid or
Super
Metroid.
Metroid style. I actually got more pumped, honestly. I liked the Prime games. I enjoyed the 3D, but part of me craved that old school, like, side scroller, you know?
It's kind of like how we talk.
Sometimes it's just better.
It's kind of like how we talk about with Zelda, like how I'm actually a bigger fan of like the top-down
Yep.
Zeldas than your open world ones. I
Yep.
like those
Me
better.
too.
They click with my brain better. I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to Metroid, I love Prime. I like both. Um, so I'm excited for Prime 4, but that has been silent for so fucking long. Like they announced it and they haven't said a thing since. And I think they were also working on a trilogy, like a remastered trilogy of the Prime games. Um, There's three of them, right? Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3, because I only played the first two. Um,
I
I know they're working
think
on a new one though too.
so.
So, um,
Yeah, because
yeah,
I think the third one was the light in the dark or whatever. I'm pretty sure in that one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think so. I think there's three.
okay, yeah. So I'm kind of excited for that just to see what they do. They did a cool thing with the um those robots last time around. That I can't remember what they're called, but like that hunted you through the.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yep. Um, got about four more stories here. We're actually going to be done pretty quick this week for you guys. So happy Sunday. Um, looks like the Washington Post is closing Launcher, which is a video game publication. It's a video game website. Um, a lot of layoffs have been hitting not just the games industry, but the games coverage industry. I know some people were released at Giant Bomb. And looks like that it's hit Washington Post now too, which I mean, say what you will about Washington Post. I kind of can't stand the Washington Post, but the fact that they were finally like had like a mainstream team covering games was kind of cool to see. And
Yeah.
now, they were declining, they're eliminating 20 newsroom positions and not filling the 30 open positions. Um, so, and five people were laid off, were officially laid off from Launcher specifically. So it looks like the layoffs were, and this is according to IGN. So it looks like the layoffs were the Washington Post as well. But I don't know. That kind of sucks. It feels like we might have finally got some legitimacy of people like taking games seriously, and then they just kick it to the side. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, not surprising. More layoffs. Well, I would say I'm surprised, but I'm not. I'm with you though. It's kind of sad because seeing something like Washington Post finally taking like video games semi seriously enough to have a section to report on that, kind of cool to see. But now it's getting squashed. So
Yeah. So that sucks. And like I said, it's been happening all across the industry. So hearts go out to the people that lost their jobs. Hopefully you'll land on your feet and be able to find.
yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
luckily there's a lot of game publications out there that hopefully need some good people, and you know hopefully you can continue doing what you love, because a lot of people that report on this, I mean, we're doing it for no money and because we love doing it. So the fact that people are trying to make a living at it, which I think people should be able to try to make a living at it.
Yeah.
And it just sucks to see like more and more of these places closing that take this stuff seriously, that want to focus on it and showcase it. Um, let's see. The next story here is the PSVR 2 launch window lineup has been revealed. This is according to the PlayStation blog. I'm not seeing too much that's jumping out at me here. Tetris Effect. I love me some Tetris Effect. And it looks like there's a Gran Turismo 7 game, a Horizon game. Rez is getting out there. Looks like a Star Wars game. Other than that, nothing too crazy. So I don't know. Once again, another case of like VR not getting me all that excited. I don't know. There's a Creed game. Um, is this City Skylines VR? Maybe. I don't know. They It seems like they're coming out with a lot of games that are already out on the PSVR 1. So that, and on top of the fact that the cost of the PSVR 2 is going to be $550,
Yeesh.
and
Ooh, that's a
you
price
already
tag.
have to have a PS5 to run it. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, that's quite of a pricey price tag. Most of these VR things I've noticed, whatever company it's from or whoever put, they're all like that though. I mean, you're talking at least 250, $300. And the fact that they're asking 500 price tag for it, it and the PS5 by itself is already what, 500-600 bucks, depending on what
500,
model
yeah.
you get. So, yeah,
500 in
I
the United
mean,
States. It went up at the PlayStation 5 actually got price increase pretty much everywhere except for the United States. They're more
yeah,
closer to 550, 575 in some places. So,
yeah. So think about that. Now you got to drop an additional five. That's $1,000 already. Like that's not a small chunk of money to be spending on a game system. That's kind of outrageous.
well,
But
and in my opinion, if you're going to be pushing especially a new like system, like especially because not everybody's adopted VR yet, you better be coming out swinging with some like heavy hitters. Like I don't even see Beat Saber on here, and Beat Saber's fucking huge in VR. Like you see people
Oh
streaming
yeah,
Beat Saber all the time, and I don't see
everybody loves
Beat
that.
Saber. Like I see a VR version of Resident Evil Village. That's cool, um, but that's all stuff that you can play today. It's nothing new.
Yeah, yeah. Especially not to have something like Beat Saber on there. Like you're talking people that don't ever even play games play Beat Saber. Like I know a bunch of people that play Beat Saber just strictly to they use it to work out, like
Right.
legitimately as a workout. So yeah, they need to come up with a pretty good lineup. I'm with you there to be pushing a new system, especially something you're going to be asking an extra 500 for. Like if you ain't got a
550.
good
Yeah, like
lineup, it's you're gonna go right down the crap hole.
it looks like No Man's Sky is also coming there, which I mean, I've always wanted to check out No Man's Sky in VR, but again, that's out on the PSVR right now. That's out on
Yeah,
or not Oculus Meta. They're now Meta, the Meta Quest. It's out on the Meta Quest 2. It's out on your Steam VR
Meta, Meta
boxes.
Quest.
Yeah, it's so
Ugh,
fucking stupid. Fucking hate them.
dumb.
That's just annoying. Um,
Come on, you got to get meta, bro.
no, never. Um, last depressing story, and then we got one final story. Depressing, but also good that they're doing this. Justin Roiland has resigned from Squanch Games, and Adult Swim has also cut ties with Justin Roiland amidst all the allegations that we covered last week of abuse and whatnot. Um, this is according to Game Informer. The High on Life Twitter account has released a statement yesterday, which was the January 24th at the time, revealing that the studio received Roiland's resignation on January 16th. Squanch says it will keep developing games we know our fans will love while continuing the support and improve High on Life. Um, and then the statement came just a couple hours after the Rick and Morty Twitter account officially said that they were parting ways with Roiland. Um, not really surprised here. He's facing indictments. He's, like what other choice did both Adult Swim and Squanch Games have than to
Well, I'm gonna
part
be
ways?
honest with you. I'm surprised they gave him the option to resign. I figured they would have just, you know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, they gave him the
Yeah,
option to resign for Squanch Games, but Adult Swim just ended
yeah.
theirs. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Adult Swim just axed him right on the spot. Was like, all right, I'm not giving you no ultimatum. Like, we
Mm,
don't want to be associated with you. So
Now,
it
if
kind of surprises me that Squanch Games at least gave him that opportunity.
well, I think the one thing about Squanch Games is it is his company. Like, I think that was his own studio that he started. So,
Oh, okay.
he kind of they can say whatever they want. But ultimately, if he's the head of the company, but it fucking sucks for like all the people that worked on that game because that game High on Life was getting like was getting not well received, but like people were liking it, and now people are just so fucking turned off because of this douchebag being a fucking asshole. And I
Yeah.
already here in interviews, he kind of comes across as egotistical too, so you can like see like that these accusations are probably not too far fetched. But it just
Well,
fucking sucks
yeah.
for everybody else working, like even the people that work on Rick and Morty and stuff like that. Like,
Well, and from what I remember from a little bit that I picked up just listening to stuff, like I'm pretty sure they were saying that it's not just like abuse allegations anymore. Like they're talking like there's rumors of him like grooming women and stuff like that, and it's just you're digging yourself a bigger hole, bro. Like it just does not, you know, you're a pig. That's all I can really say. He's a pig, man,
yep.
and it sounds like they're gonna fry some bacon here eventually. So.
Yep.
For
Yummy, yummy, piggy.
lack of better words, I mean, if all this does prove to be like true or like a good chunk of it to be true, then I hope he gets what he deserves. I mean, we don't have any place in the world for disgusting people like that.
Yeah, definitely. And then last story here, The Last of Us TV show. We kind of alluded to it last week, but it was officially announced. And this particular story, comes from Polygon. HBO has already renewed The Last of Us for a second season. Um, and
Quick as lightning.
yeah, and it looks like the second season is going to be The Last of Us Part Two. So that looks like we're going to get the entire game in this season then, the first game in this
Oh,
season.
Spoiler alert, they're for season 2, they're replacing Pedro Pascal with somebody else, like they did with The Witcher.
Are they really?
Oh,
I was gonna, this is freaking me out, man.
it's like out of nowhere, like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, by the way, we're having the same character, but a different person playing him.
yeah. So yeah, that looks like the first season covers the events of the 2013 game of the same name. That leaves Naughty Dog's 2022 sequel for season 2. So does this mean
Well,
then we're gonna get a Last of Us 3 video game so they can keep the show going? Because I can't see, getting that, just HBO being happy with just doing 2 seasons.
right. So I was just about to say that. I mean, if all of the first game is supposed to be encompassed in the first season, I mean, the first season is only like 8 episodes, so that's not a super long time. But honestly, that's not bad. Like, I've talked to other people about this. Like, for me, TV shows, right? Like, if I really like them, I like them. But like, I don't like seasons where they're like 20 episodes in a season, right? Sometimes it gets a little too long. So I think right there, like that 8 to 10 episodes, maybe 12 max for a season, me personally is good for me. And then, move on to a new season or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see them only do potentially 2 seasons to encompass both games.
Or they might have to wait until the third one comes out, or do like a Walking Dead situation where like, or a Game of Thrones situation where like the TV show got ahead of the book release in the comics. So they
Yeah.
had
Oh
to
yeah.
like kind of like take their own liberties, which I don't know if I want to see them do that, but who
All of a
knows?
sudden, Ellie becomes half clicker and da da. No, I'm just playing.
But who knows? Maybe they'll find, better
Goku
writers than
Island.
the, people that wrote the travesty that was Last of Us Part 2. So maybe they'll make me like The Last of Us Part 2.
Well, and see, that's the thing. I never played part two, so maybe I should go back and try and play that. But I don't know how it ended, so I couldn't really say whether or not they could feasibly make a part three or not.
Yeah,
Um,
they could, with the way that, without going into spoilers for how Part 2 ends, they could totally do a Part 3. But after how the writing of the last one, after Part 2 went, it seemed, I don't know, like I didn't like that story one bit.
and you want that part three story, which is just part two on steroids. Quit
Which is
playing.
just like a let's just erase Part 2 and start over.
Start over with part three.
Yeah. Yeah, do something else. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the week. Do you got any other news going on?
um, honestly, not really. Um, like I said, I mean, I'm kind of down in the dumps about not getting to try out Dead Space yet. So please stay off of my Twitter and shit with spoilers. I will destroy you because it is taken. You have no idea. It is taken so much in me to like restrain myself and not watch things or read things because I don't want to ruin it for myself. I mean, I know from the little bit that I did read, like it's going to be towards the same story, which I don't really remember that much because that game's like what 13 years old. So
Right.
other than that, nothing really. I'm gonna try to stream a couple of times this week since this is the week without the kids. I'm not sure what I'll be streaming. I might do some more RE2 because we haven't even played Leon yet on stream. And then of course, both of them have their B-side stories too, which are same characters, but they change the scenario. You get some different weapons, things like that. So that'll be interesting. I'll shoot for a no box run of RE3 on stream. Who knows if I'm feeling ballsy
Feeling
enough for
brave.
that,
Yeah.
right? For sure. But other than that, just the usual kid or work, and that's about it.
Okay. And then I hope to plan on streaming. I want to try to do a Fire Emblem Engage stream finally in the middle of the week. I'll stream that on my channel, then I'll post it to the Black Box YouTube. And then I also want to do season hopefully Saturday. I know I said I was going to get in a stream in last Saturday, but I'm still working out the kinks in this podcast. That's why the middle of the podcast, probably when my camera freaked out, it cut the sound for a little bit. So I'm still trying to work these kinks out. So I haven't had much time to stream, but I'm hoping this week will be the week I get back to it. Maybe try to do like a Wednesday for Fire Emblem and then a Saturday for season. Um, but other than that, I don't have much else going on. So that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. But yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. I'll be super stoked to see the Fire Emblem stream for sure.
definitely. And if you all come out, that'll be great. And either way, I'll throw it up. That way, you guys can see my impressions of it so far. But it looks like that's it for this week's episode. You can follow us at _BlackBoxSignal on Twitter and YouTube. You can follow us at Twitch on at BlackBoxSignal or /BlackSignal. Brandon, where can they follow you?
You can find me on Twitter at EnrageMe with an H at the end, or on Twitch, twitch.tv/EnrageMe with an H at the end as well.
And you can follow me at chasing_chase on Twitter and /chasingchasetv on Twitch. And you can also email us at blackboxsignalpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to have your questions about whatever. It could be about wrestling, could be about favorite foods, could be about game-related stuff. We don't really care. We would just love to do an email section.
And if they don't want to watch us, where can they listen to us at?
Oh, yep. We're also going to be on Spotify, or we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to take suggestions, too, of anywhere else that you guys think that we should be throwing this up on a podcast app of choice. We just kind of hit the two most popular. And this will be up on YouTube as well, and should be up on Twitch this time. I remember last week I didn't archive. So this week we should be archived. We should be good. But yeah, I appreciate everybody hopping in, hanging out with us for a little while, and have a great week. And I apologize again for the technical difficulties. Episode 3. Three's the charm, right? Three's the charm. That'll be the one where we have it all ironed out. And if my camera freaks out, I won't accidentally unplug my mic because the USB ports look the same. So everybody, have a great night or a great day, great night, and stay safe, comrades.